everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Down the Hobbit Hole. Today is May the 10th. My name is Emily, and this is my weekly podcast about knitting and spinning and all things making. So today, Tesla and I are back outside. This time we are in the pine forest on one of the trails carved out by the horses. Because our neighbors' horses used to graze over here, and they will be grazing over here again in the future. I just need to meet them and get used to the idea of walking around on my property while there are horses. So it's a little scary, but his horses seem really nice, and my neighbors across the street, they also seem very friendly. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. It's just been a while since I've been near a horse. So I'll have to get used to their size again. Not that I was ever used to their size, but I was okay with them before until one kind of tried to get me. And then then their size became a problem. Let's see. But yeah, so our cow started. The There and Back Again cow started 3 days ago. It started on the 7th, and I'm really enjoying it so far. One thing we haven't talked about yet for the cow are prizes. And we do have Babs Rudlin, and she is the creator behind Fiery Phoenix, and you can find her on Instagram under that name. And I'll have links to her website and her Instagram down below, so definitely check her out. But she has very kindly donated a pattern and a set of stitch markers for the cow. So I haven't decided if those are going to be paired together or if those will go separately. But the great thing about it is you get to choose. So she has her Dragonscale collection, and it's got 3 different patterns there, and you get to choose which one you want, and she'll send you promo codes so you can just check out and get that pattern for free. And same for the stitch markers, so that you can pick out the ones that you want, and you don't have to, it's not just kind of up to whichever ones got donated. So you get to pick the one that's perfect for you, and I think that's really nice. So she'll be donating that, and again, her information will all be below. For other prizes, I am going to be doing I told Tim we're going to be having a movie marathon of Lord of the Rings, and he's very happy about that. I even have some of the old cartoon versions on VHS that I haven't watched yet. So we'll be going through and watching some of that, and I will be trying to come up with some colorways to hopefully release soon. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm working on creating project bags so that I can include some I don't know, it just depends on how many people participate. And I know I keep saying that, but we'll have more finalized prizes towards the end. But it'll be, I want to work on dyeing up some skeins, and I want to have some project bags ready for people. So if you are a maker, if you make project bags, stitch markers, patterns, anything along those lines, if you dye yarn, definitely get in touch with me if you want to donate a prize. You can get in touch with me on Instagram as MistyMountMakers. You can find me on Ravelry as MistyMountMakers. And yeah, you can also, you can email me. This is, if anybody wants to email me, if you prefer that, you can message me at emily@MistyMountainMakers.com, and that's my work email, so that'll be fine. You can get in touch with me that way. But yeah, we are still accepting prizes. We've got 3 months to go, so plenty of time. And hopefully I'll be able to show you guys more as time goes on. I'll definitely... Tesla! Leave the rabbit alone. I'll definitely be able to show you guys more of those as time goes by. And you will see me posting. I totally understand why I can't win prizes. Totally get that. This is something where I'm trying to bring everyone together to participate, and it would look super shady if I won prizes. But what I'm going to do is if I draw my number, because I still want to participate, I'm going to submit, and I just don't want you guys to think that I'm trying to win the prizes that are up for grabs for everyone. I'm going to submit my finished objects in the thread as well, and if when I'm drawing for prizes I come across my own number, I will draw again to make sure the prize goes to someone else, but just I might get myself a present at my local yarn shop or something along those lines, so that way I still win and you guys win, everybody wins. So just keep in mind if you see me posting that nothing shady is going down, just for the record. Yeah, I think that takes us on to knitting. So let me show you what I've cast on for the knit along. Alright, so what I'm working on is going to be this pattern here, and it is the Traveling Woman Shawl, and I've had this pattern for years. It's by Liz Abernathy, and it's really pretty. It's available, you can do it in lace, fingering, DK, or worsted. And I had some yarns that might work for worsted in my stash, but I really wanted to use my own yarn for this, my own hand-dyed. So I was originally going to use the skein of Sour Apple, not the same one I showed you. I had two, and there are now two available in the shop, not just one. But I was going to use that gigantic skein of the BFL and Silk to make mine, but I feel like that Sour Apple was going to be too bright. It was going to be just too much going on right just in front of my face. So I decided to change things up, and I am knitting it on, this base is coming soon. Right now it's only available at Hook and Needle, but it's my Umber base, and it's all fillery themed as far as the colorways go, which doesn't really have anything to do with Lord of the Rings, but the color works and I like it with the pattern, so therefore it works. So don't get too tied up in the yarn that you're using or the pattern you're choosing. Pretty much everything's gonna work, as long as you can tell me why. But it's 60% superwash merino, 20% yak, and 20% silk, and it is gorgeous. I love it. I'm using, the colorway I'm using is Fillery, and I'm not sure it's coming through well. I think my phone is very happy to focus on all of the trees behind me rather than the yarn. But if you check out my Instagram, I've got a picture there, and I started it on Sunday. Today is Wednesday, and I've made a sizable dent in it. I am almost to the lace, which is making me very happy. The yarn is knitting up, and I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it, but as more of a semi-solid, and oh, it's just so pretty. I'm so happy with it. And the pattern is really straightforward. I did make one change. I had to undo it a few times because I kept accidentally knitting doing increases on well, there are increases on both sides. Go lay down. You're overheating. Good boy. Not to give too much away because it is a paid for pattern, but I was doing increases where I shouldn't have, and so I started over, and it wasn't anything to do with the pattern. I just wasn't paying it. Whoa, that was a cool looking beetle. Sorry, iridescent, beautiful beetle just landed. And then it took off. Otherwise I'd get him on my hand and show you. But the Right, so it wasn't the pattern's fault, I just wasn't paying attention. And when I was doing it again for the fourth and final time, instead of doing, where you knit the little tab, pick up stitches and go, I just cast on the number of stitches it told you to cast on, and then started increasing that piece out so that it creates more of a fan shape into the rest of the shawl, because I don't like the look of the garter tab. It wasn't working out for me. It kind of just looked like a tangled up mess, and it's probably just the way that I'm doing it. But yeah, I cast on the stitches and then just kind of increased between them so that it would flow out better. And I think it looks really nice. I wove in my end so that it would be out of the way, but now it's in the way for me to show you. But there we go. See? So you don't have that big rectangular chunk at the top. But hopefully I will get this finished. I think I'll have it finished soon. I haven't gotten into the lace yet, and that might slow me down. But this will be my first full-size shawl. The other two that I've made, they were supposed to be shawlettes, so they were supposed to be really small, but I think that this one's going to be much bigger, and I got really impatient with the other ones, so they're even smaller than they're supposed to be. Tesla has some form of hiccups, and he's right over there, so if you can hear that, sorry. It's really nice in the woods. But yeah, I'm working on that, and I like to think that it's so soft, it's so nice, and I like to think that it's something that Bilbo would have kept in his hobbit hole before the journey, but I'm pretty sure that if he had this, there's no way he would have left it behind. He would have grabbed that thing on the way out the door, and he would have been warm on his journey. But that's my first project, and hopefully I'll have that finished soon. And I may have said this earlier, but if you check out my Instagram, and I'm MistyMountMakers, then you can see some photos where it shows off the color much better than it might be showing it here, out here. For my other pattern that I will be working on, because I did pick out two, I haven't cast this one on yet, but I am going to make a tea mitten. And this is a free pattern by Elizabeth Clevin, and it is a ribbed tea cozy, and she uses a thumb gusset to make the space for the spout, and it's pretty cute, and it's got a little flap. Let me see if there's I don't have a good photo, but you can kind of see it here. There's a flap with buttons, so I'm thinking I'll put little brass buttons on there, like Bilbo's waistcoat. I'm having so much fun with this. But the yarn it calls for is DK weight, and all I had were worsted and Aran weight in the colors that I wanted to use. So I chose, this is Universal Yarns in their Deluxe Worsted 100% wool, and it's this really nice heathered brown. I think it's natural colored. I don't think this has been dyed. And it's got all these white hairs sticking off it, and it's really nice. It's kind of scratchy, but I could definitely wear this next to skin. Not an issue, since it's going to be on my teapot. And then I have, this is Cascade 220, and it's not the bright white, but like the off-white, and it's a little scrap that I have left over. And I had a ball, and I rolled it into a ball because I've had this for years, since before my husband got me a ball winder. A ball of Wool of the Andes by Knit Picks. It's the Aran or chunky, or whatever they call the size above worsted. But it rolled down the hill. I'm not entirely sure where it is, but I saw it go a really long way. So I think that hopefully it made it all the way out to the clearing. I'm really hoping I don't have to slide down the hill, because it's covered in pine needles and I won't be able to see a copperhead if it's out here. I haven't actually seen a copperhead in person, but all of my neighbors have warned me about it, and I hear they like the woods and like the growth underneath, and they're perfectly, you know, their color works really well for that. So I'm paranoid, but probably work out just fine. But it's down there. It's like a mustard yellow. I'll find it eventually. If not, I'll replace the color with something else. But I'm going to start with the brown, and I want to do some color work. I don't know if I want to do like the scallops, so that I have little waves of color as I transition between them, or if I want to do good boy. I don't know if I want to do the scallops. My property line is, I mean, it's pretty far that way, but it's close enough that Tesla's going over there to investigate. I don't think the horses are out there, but I don't want him slipping over into my neighbor's property. So I'm not sure if I want to do scallops or if I want to do like the pixelated, where there are, it kind of looks like snowfall of one color coming down. So have solid brown and then start to see specks of white, and then get into the white with specks of brown, and then solid white. Then speckling, and then some yellow speckling, solid yellow, and then speckling back with the white, so it kind of fades in and out. Or I could do stripes. I haven't done a lot of color work, and this is supposed to be stretchy. So I might stick to stripes, just because this is supposed to be a stretchy, form-fitting around the teapot kind of thing. I'll probably do stripes. But now I'm sad. Yeah. So, I'll be casting this on soon. Maybe not right away, but this is one of my planned projects. And I just wanted to kind of go over what I've picked out so far, so that people don't feel intimidated, like they have to do something specifically Lord of the Rings themed, or Middle Earth themed. If I say Lord of the Rings or just The Hobbit, either one works. Or if I say knit along, crochet is fine too. We are not picky here. And then another item that I will be finishing, and this works great as another example, I have these socks that I've been working on for Tim, which you guys have seen before, which I will Woo. Sorry. Which I will be working on. If I can finish them by the end of the cal, I'll be submitting them as well. I haven't decided what I'll be getting myself as a prize if I do draw my name. I'm thinking that Twist Fiber Studio bag that I wanted so badly might be a prize for myself, or maybe that skein of yarn from Katrina dyed it for Holly and Ivy. So I'm excited. I hope I draw my number. I'll be drawing someone else after that, but still. Here's the socks that I'm working on, and this makes me think of Boromir's Redemption, which, spoiler alert if you don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, so look away, or don't listen, skip ahead a bit. or just mute it, and I'll wave my arms around when I'm done. So, Boromir's Redemption, when he dies and they package him up into one of the boats and send him over the falls. So this reminds me of the churning water of the river. Was that the Rowrus River? When he went over the falls, and that is what I will be submitting these as if I finish them. They're for Tim. They're for his very large feet. Hopefully I'll get them done. But just another example, if you've got a project that's just, you've started it but you haven't finished it, as long as you have a good amount of work left, please don't submit anything that's just a bind off left. Honor system people. But yeah, those are the ones that I'll be submitting for the cow. And then on to a different cow. Gabby for Once Upon a Corgi. She's doing the Beauty and the Beast cow in her Ravelry group, and I am taking part, and I'm working on the Fairy Snowcap cow. Fairy Snowcap, and it's I'm using Nitpicks Capra DK, and it's in the wine colorway. So it's I think it's 85% merino, 15% cashmere, something like that. But here's what I have so far, and last week I think I had just finished this little nub at the top. I had only finished about 10 rows. I am halfway through chart B, and then I just have chart C left. And I'm coming along really fast with this. I have until the 26th, but I want to get this done so that I can focus on the There and Back Again cow, because I really don't want to fall behind in my own cow. So, yes. Hopefully I'll get that submitted soon. And I did find my Hermione's Everyday Socks. They are over here. I found them, started knitting, and then realized I made a mistake. A lot of mistakes in the row that I had just finished when I put them down. I have no idea what I was doing, but my pearls are all in the wrong spot. I have 2 pearls next to each other, which it's supposed to be, it's a 4-stitch kind of repeat down the row, and it's supposed to be like a knit 3 purl 1, so there should never be 2 pearls next to each other, and that changes up. It's a free pattern, you can always go check it out, but over here, why do I have 2 purl stitches there? I don't know what's going on. So I'm gonna have to, I don't want to undo all of it. So I think what I'm gonna do is just drop the last 2 rows to where I can get down there, re-knit those 2 rows, and get me back on track so I can start knitting again. It'll be a pain in the butt, but I won't have to tink all the way back, which will save a lot of time. I'm sure it won't save that much frustration, but maybe a little bit. I was nervous about going into my office because I fought I told you guys last week there was a gigantic spider in my office, and for the most part I am totally okay with bugs. I like looking at spiders, and I usually try to remove them from the house and not harm them. But I was moving a piece of furniture and I looked down and it was right next to me, and it was on the far side of the house. It was big enough that I couldn't easily get a cup over it without damaging it, and I didn't want to put them out damaged. And if Tim had been home, if it hadn't been my office, I probably would have let it go and just let it live and not hurt it. But it was in my office and there's stuff everywhere. So I would have spent the next 4 months freaking out every time I pick up something off the floor or off a shelf or off the table, thinking that there's a big spider in it. And I know that's a sissy thing to say, but I squashed it, and I'm dealing with a lot of remorse over that. I feel bad for killing it. But I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to find my socks, my Hermione's Everyday socks, because they were somewhere in there and I didn't want to find another spider. So I was like, well, I'll work on something else until then. So I go in there and I'm like, what's this bag on the table? It's the only thing on the table in that spot. Like, there's the drum carter, and then there's the open space with one of my old project bags on it. And of course, this was it. So I feel pretty silly about that. But I'll probably set these on the back burner a little bit, get my hat done, and pick these up and fix them later. This is an example of the project bags I used to make. They were all drawstring because I liked having them on my wrist to walk around and knit, because I do a lot of knitting and walking. And I usually only made them for myself or for swaps that I did, because I used to do a lot of swaps, and I haven't done one lately. I should do that again, because those were a lot of fun. Right, Tesla? Yeah. What? I haven't done those in a while, and I should. But my sewing skills were not great. You can see it's like puckered, and there's still all these ends sticking out, and I haven't put on a strap or anything. So my new ones, the ones that I'm working on now, because I want to be able to put them in the cal, are drawstring. I'm trying out different bases because I do like having a sturdy base on the bottom, so I don't feel like it's getting scraped up, or I don't want it like just the normal cotton fabric on the bottom. I want like a canvas or even leather. I'm trying that out as the base, so that it can take a little more of a beating. Because if you're setting it down on concrete or stones or gravel or whatever, it can get scraped up pretty quickly. So that's what I'm working on. Hopefully I'll have a few bags. I want to be able to show you next week some of the bags. I'm making them for myself first, and then once I get more comfortable making those, I'll have some for the cal. So that should be fun. I don't plan on having them in the shop, but whenever we have knit-alongs, I'd like to be able to create things like that, maybe do a pairing of project bag and yarn that go together, things like that. Yeah. And then I think that's everything I'm working on knitting-wise. I do have one project now. I'm not actually going to be doing any of the making in this. My friend Vicky is, and I'm taking her the fabric. I told you guys about this last week. She's making me a project bag in exchange for bats. So we're doing a trade, and I'll show you the fabric I picked out. I spent the 4 pieces of fabric that I showed you last week. I spent like an hour in Hobby Lobby agonizing over my fabric choice. I spent 10 minutes in my local fabric shop, had my fabric, and I was ready to go because I was so certain and so happy with the selection that they had. And it's the Twisted Stitches. They just changed their name. They used to be called Pappy's. Pappy's Quilt Shop. And I don't think I have the receipt to check it. I'll link it below because I think they have a website. But get ready because this is cute. Look at them. They look like little Cheviots. Oh my gosh. They're so cute. Look at their little faces. And there's, they had a white one. That was the same thing. It was just white with sheep. And there's always the little blue one. So here's a larger view. So I got a yard of this. And this is my exterior fabric. And I got grunge fabric to be the interior. And it's the perfect shade of blue with little blotches of like a greenish, brownish gray. So, it's perfect. So this will be the exterior. Oh, hi Tesla. Do you like it? Are you happy with my fabric choices? Yeah. Who's breathing in my face? Who's breathing? It's Tesla. Get out of here. There we go. So, well, you know, it'll be like that. So this will be the exterior, and this will be the interior, and all the pockets will be in this, with this peeking out. Oh, I'm so happy. I can't wait to see it. I'm taking this to her tomorrow, and she said that if I had any yarns that worked with the fabric, to bring them in, any non-stretchy yarns. Most of my yarn is stretchy because I like wool, and I like bouncy wool. So I had a little bit of trouble finding stuff, but, and I'm sorry, it's gonna crinkle for a second. Kind of lost my confidence because I'm afraid everything's gonna roll straight down the hill and I'm gonna lose it, or just fill it with vegetable matter. So I grabbed, and I need to cake this up for her, but silky wool, and I've actually got 3 colors of this that are going in, and there you go. I like this. I have it in brown, pink, and blue, and then all of my other colors, because she's going to weave these together to be the drawstring cords for the bag, and I'll show you when I have it and it's all done. But I included some hand spun. Now this is mine, it's border Leicester, because we have some lovely border Leicesters in the area. And I bought a ton of fleeces about 3 years ago when I first started spinning. And this is just a nice blend of all of those, so I want this to be in there. I didn't really know what I was grabbing, so I just grabbed whatever, and she can use whatever she wants, and if she doesn't want to use some, she doesn't have to. I just wanted to give her options. And then I have this, it's baby alpaca. Is it 100% baby alpaca? Yeah, I guess it is. Huh. I have 3 skeins of this that my sister-in-law gave to me, and I have 3 in cream and 3 in green, and I've had them for a really long time. I just don't know what I want to make with them. I think I want to make a shawl, but the yarn is so pretty that I'm afraid I'm gonna make a shawl or start a shawl and not finish it, or I'm afraid I won't like it. So I'm waiting, but we'll see. I'll eventually make something out of it, but a little of it will be used for this. And it's just a pretty creamy white. There's the label. And then I have a couple of other things, a couple other natural hand spuns, Patton's Croy socks, and Vanna's Glamour. These 2. I actually don't think. This one I might, because the colorway is camo colors, but it has that same kind of background color and that same blue. I think it might work well, but I don't think I'm gonna add this. I think I'm gonna take that out. But yeah, so I'm taking this to her tomorrow. I'm taking this to her tomorrow so that she can make a bag for me. And I'm gonna make a lot of crinkling noises, but I'm gonna edit it out, so. Okay, so that's all for what I've been working on. I do have an acquisition this week, and I'm so excited about them. Tim's excited about them too, which I'm surprised about. But they're scissors, and they're little metal scissors, and they just look so, it looks like someone took just a thin rod of metal and bent it and like hammered it out. They look like they've been blacksmithed. I'm sure they haven't, but that's the look that they have. But they just look really cute. And we were talking to Christy about it. Christy's the owner of the yarn shop, Hook and Needle, over in Maryville. And she was just surprised that we were all kind of running over to grab some scissors and buy them. Just the second she put them out, we were all just like, ooh, what are those? Ooh, can I look at them? Ooh, I'd like to buy some. So I think she was pleasantly surprised. So I got that, and then this is not something that I'll be keeping. I'm borrowing it from my spinning guild, and it is Growing Herbs and Plants for Dyeing. And it's an older book. I don't know how long we've had it. I don't know how long we've had it, but it's very neat. Down. Good boy. Let's see. 1977. But it even has, things in here that I didn't expect. Like tomatoes. Tomatoes are in here. Tomato. And you're actually using the plant. So at the end of the year, you take the plant, and it says that the color is good on a scale of like fair to excellent, I guess. And so it's not supposed to last that long, but it's supposed to make a reddish brown without a mordant. And with alum, it'll make a light yellow, but that's more of a fair to good color fastness. So this is just awesome. This is a really cool book. So at the end of the year, when I have all of those tomato plants, I'm gonna dye some yarn. Not as much yarn as I could with all of those tomato plants, but I'll dye some yarn. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I definitely want to comb through that. I just need to remember. Last time I checked out a book from them, I forgot about it completely until just before the guild meeting, and then had to return it, which was painful. Because I really wanted to read it. It was yarn texture, and I just forgot about it. So I think that's it for anything to do with fiber or yarn or anything like that. So if that's all you're here for, totally fine. I'll see you next week. Thank you for coming. And for everybody else, we will move along to the not so nitty portion. So Tim actually got to have an entire day off. I know, it was awesome. We hung out on Monday. Monday was his day off. He had to work part of Sunday. And we returned to the chicken coop that day and bought cattle panels. So it wasn't the most enjoyable time. Like, even though he was off for half of the day, he wasn't really off because we had to go run those errands. But we spent all of Monday just in the house. We were both feeling pretty sick. I haven't touched anything that might, now that I think about it, I bought the fabric. So I'll probably just like Lysol that or something before I give it to Vicky. But we've been feeling pretty sick, so we haven't been doing much just because our sleep has been so interrupted, and we both have sore throats and feeling a bit under the weather. So we get to snuggle and just watch movies. We watched Rogue One, which looked very pretty, but I think they didn't develop the characters as much as they could have, but I think they did that on purpose, given the movie. I don't want to say more than that, because I'll give stuff away, but I think there was a reason to it, but I think the lack of character development made me feel like the events in the movie was just kind of inconsequential, which I know it wasn't, but kind of how I felt about it. That's how Tim felt about it too. I watched Moana, which was great. I've been listening to the soundtrack on my Pandora channel, and I feel so bad because I told Tim, because the guy who plays Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords plays the crab. At least I think it is. I didn't actually look it up to confirm it, but it had to be him. He played the giant crab, and I started telling Tim about it, and he's like, "Oh, you're watching Moana without me?" And I had rented it, and I didn't think he was interested. I thought he just wanted to watch it because I wanted to watch it, so he was just being supportive and sweet, but he actually wanted to watch it, so it works out because I'll get to check it out again, so we can both watch it again. But I feel really bad that I watched it without him in the first place. we have, oh, and we watched Saving Grace, not the TV show, the movie from 2000, I think, which is fantastic. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to check it out because it's so funny. It's a British movie, and it's the movie, you wouldn't know it based on the TV show, but it's the movie that spawned Doc Martin. So if you like Doc Martin, if you're a big fan of that show, which I am, Tim and I are behind. We haven't watched the latest season all the way through, but you need to check that out too. It's great. But Doc Martin is very different in the movie than he is in the TV show, and he's not the main character. So I don't know how that TV show spawned from that movie, but I'm glad it did. As far as the chickens go, we have had, well, actually we named 2 of the girls. They are slowly getting named as they show more character and personality. And we had an escape, and I posted about it on Instagram. And the photo reminded me of, there's a old movie called How to Marry a Millionaire. And it has Lauren Bacall, Marilyn Monroe, and I always forget the other woman's name, and I feel so bad about that. But they are 3 women trying to marry millionaires. So that's their plan. And they work in a department store as models. So they would, whenever customers would come in, they want to see the, that year's collection, they would kind of saunter around wearing the outfits. And I don't know why, but the picture reminded me of that. So the 2 girls, I don't know what breed they are. I'm not entirely sure what they are. I don't think there are Easter eggers. But anyways, they have bright white chests, and they've got this beautiful, marking around their eyes, and it kind of pulls back in this dramatic line, so it looks like they're wearing eyeliner all the time, and they look very elegant and fabulous. And so I've named them the Ladies Bacall, and it's a lot of fun to call them the Bacalls. That was louder than anticipated. But, yeah, they've escaped several times. Luckily, Tim should have this weekend off. Some huge, there's another company, they do favors back and forth, and Tim might have to work more long shifts supervising as people use the machinery at his work. So hopefully that'll be after this weekend, so he can actually get a break. But we have every intention of building the coops, because I keep coming into the room and there's one of the Bacalls just hanging out on top. Not sure what to do. It's always either one of the Bacalls or it's Foghorn, and the rest of the birds just kind of watch, and they're kind of envious. Like Detta, I thought Detta and Foghorn were gonna be the 2 that were really dominant in the group, but it really seems to be Foghorn and Foghorn and the Ladies Bacall. They really seem to be the dominant ones. They found a place where they can perch, but only one bird can perch at a time, and it's always either Foghorn or one of the Bacalls. So I'm surprised. Detta seems to be behind them, but she's like a distant 4th. I wasn't expecting that. But Detta and her sister, who does not have a name yet, they look like little hawks, and it's very cool. They look very dramatic. So hopefully once we have the coop, I'll set up my camera in there again and kind of let you guys see them running around. I did get some footage of the little birds that are building their nests, and they're building it out of moss and things, moss and leaves, and they're building it on our back porch. So I set up the camera, and hopefully I got some video of them, and I'll put that at the end if any of it turned out well. While I was making breakfast this morning, I just left it out there, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But the meat birds, when I first got the meat birds, they were adorable and sweet, and they would run up and I was feeling so bad because I was like, oh my gosh, these are the meat birds. Why are the meat birds so friendly? They're not friendly. No, they're ravenous just all the time. They are those teeny tiny dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, the second movie where they ate that little girl. That's what they are. Because I come in there, and I made Tim come with me a couple times just to see it. As soon as I walk into the room, they dive for the corners, and they start pecking at the corners, and going crazy. And they destroy their food. Every time I put it in there, they get all of the shavings into the food, all of the shavings into the water, so I have to change it out several times a day. And they're always pecking me and being evil. And it's not like it hurts that much, but I don't like how, I don't like the feeling behind it, the sentiment. They clearly, if they were big enough, they would eat me. You know, people talk about cats. If they were big enough, they would eat people because they haven't been domesticated far enough. Those chickens would eat me, and they would not have a second thought. So they need to get outside too. Once they're out in the grass, and they don't have lots of litter to actually put into the food dish and the water dish, things will be much easier for me. And I'll probably get them one of those hanging waterers that has the little tabs hanging off the bottom for them to peck at, so they can drink that way. And that way they can't destroy their water every time I give it to them. Oh, and books. Last week I said I was going to create a thread. And instead of talking about books on the podcast, I would talk about them in the thread. And it seemed like a great idea. But I can't seem to actually... I'm nervous about writing reviews on books. I feel like it's much easier if I just talk about it. I'm going to try again. But it's taking a disturbing amount of time. I read what I've written, and then I'll reread it, and then I edit it, and I just go crazy, and then it doesn't even sound like I wrote it, and I'm all stressed out. So for now, I'm just going to tell you about the books that I read recently, and we'll see about doing that again in the future. And I'm finding that starting the podcast has made it it's made it necessary. Like, I have to post. I have to talk to people and comment and interact with people online. So it's getting much easier as time goes by. So I think that the books won't be an issue. I just need to start doing it. And then once I start doing it, I can see that it's not this terrible thing. Nobody's going to jump on me and freak out because I said something they didn't like about the Discovery of Witches series or something. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get that soon. But for now, let's see. Books that I've been reading. Baker's Magic. Oh my gosh. I started going through my library's recently added section for audiobooks, and Baker's Magic is the cutest kids book. It's definitely meant for kids. She's like 12 or something, and the discovery of her magic is... it's one of those leaps that... it's definitely meant for kids. There's no like complicated way where she's discovered or some complicated situation. And she's this little girl who comes to this town and she's starving, she doesn't have a family, she steals a bun and runs, and this boy trips her, and so the baker comes out and he's like, oh, what have you done? Blah, blah, blah. And he takes her on as an apprentice because he can see that she's starving and she's hungry, and he feeds her and she learns to trust and love, and she's happy for about a month until we get to the anniversary of her mother's death, and then she's all upset and missing her mother, but she doesn't say anything. She just goes about baking. She, everyone can tell she's kind of off, but Tesla, down. Good boy. everyone can tell she's kind of off, but people start coming in later in the day and complaining about their food and how it doesn't taste right. It tastes sour, it tastes bitter, it tastes off. And the baker tries a bite, and he has to like choke back tears, and he tells them, come back tomorrow, I'll replace the food, I'm so sorry. And it had reminded him of his family who had died, and everybody was remembering loved ones they had lost because of her magic, and that's how they discover, oh, you had a bad day. It was your magic. So it's cute. It's definitely a jump, but there's more to it. That's just the beginning, and so I haven't given away the whole story. But yeah, she uses her baking skills to save the day in different wacky situations. There are pirates and wizards and adventure, and they're on the high seas, and yet somehow her baking saves the day, and it's great. And it's all friendship and building your life and being a great person and working for the good of all. And there are tree spirits and an island full of trees, and yeah, it's good. She befriends a princess and the blacksmith, and yeah, at the end of the book there's a recipe that I haven't tried yet, and it's for Bout's buns, which are the big item in the book. It's what she steals in the beginning, and they call it a bun. She calls it Bout's buns, but really it's like a cinnamon roll. It's got raisins and things. Oh, and her world doesn't have trees. Definitely a kid's book. The evil magician in the book got rid of all the trees in the kingdom to make way for his tulips. He sells them to other countries for lots of money, but he doesn't give any of the money back to the people. So the people are starving because all the fields are filled with tulips and there are no trees. So they'll have recipes that call for like lemons or hazelnuts, or, well, hazelnuts grow on a bush, not a tree. I don't think they talk about hazelnuts. Anyways, the point is, anything that grows on a tree they don't know about. So all of their boats are made out of reeds because they don't have wood. Things like that. It's just a funny story. And I haven't tried the recipe yet, but I'm going to. I think I'm going to replace the raisins and things with walnuts or pecans, and make cinnamon rolls for me and Tim. I'll let you know how that goes. But it's good. You should check it out. And it's written by Diane Zoller. So check it out. It's great. I was working on the Discovery of Witches trilogy, and I had read the first one, and I was a little disappointed, and I talked about it on the podcast. I was a little disappointed about how the story, it didn't really end. It's just kind of one long story that doesn't have any bite-sized chunks that you can kind of feel satisfied with. It just kind of continues. And I listened to the second book, and I liked that well enough, but Tesla, come on. I told him to stay, and the pine needles slipped out from under him, and he just slowly slid down the hill. Come here. You're such a good dog. You're so good. I'm so sorry, Tesla. I'm so sorry. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. You're a mess. Go lay down. You're so gross. My page is all wet now. Lay down. So anyways, and I feel like the issue, I don't really think this is a spoiler, but they talk about blood rage all the time. All the time. Like, it's the big thing. Like, it's all they talk about. Even though there's so many other things going on. I feel like all the arguments in the relationship, all the arguments in the family, center around blood rage. Nobody has any helpful suggestions, but they just keep arguing about it. And I think that's what kind of killed it for me. And also the fact that, and let me start over. I don't want to be too negative about the series. I couldn't finish it, but it was a really interesting world. I loved the idea of the fact that the author is actually a historian and is a professor and everything. Like, I thought that was really cool. But the characters were really inconsistent. Like, the Blood Rage is so dangerous. He has absolutely no control ever about anything unless it fits the plot. And in that case, it's totally fine. And any kind of minor attack, even if it's just verbal or something, towards Diane, he's gonna lose control. He's gonna go off the deep end unless it fits the plot for him not to. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, it was really conflicted about him being so endlessly perfect and him being so filled with rage and everything. Like, it was like he was two different characters almost. And it wasn't like there was normal him and then there was Blood Rage him. It was just, when the plot needed him to be angry, he was angry. When the plot needed him to be calm, he stayed calm, even though it didn't fit with his supposed illness. So, when I was about a third of the way into the third book, and I thought I only had a few hours left, and I saw I had 15 left, I was like, nope, I'm done. So, I like it. I want to go back to it, because the world was really cool. I liked the world. I liked I liked a lot of things about it. I really did. I got a little frustrated with it. And I feel like if I take some time, try to listen to the third one again, that it'll be fine. And I'll enjoy it. I needed a break from it. And I think if it had had more of those bite-sized chunks, I feel like the lack of any kind of break in the story, and because it was like it was like an endless stockinette scarf, or an endless garter stitch scarf, because you don't even have the change up of doing purling. It was like just monotonous almost. There were no ups and downs with the story, or at least it didn't feel that way. I think that's what kind of it just kind of wore me out. So I'm going to try again, because I did like it. I just needed a break. So I started the Steel and Stone series by Annette Marie, and that's a really good series. I'm only 2 books into it, but only because the other books have not become available at the library. I'm listening to the audiobooks, so I'm on hold, but I should get the next few pretty quickly. And it's a world where World War III happened, and it only ended because demons they came in, killed the higher-ups in the government, and then went, okay, so we exist, but you guys pick up the pieces, because they didn't want Earth destroyed. So it's been years, and that's, already happened, and magic is a thing. There are demons, and then there are Haymans, which are half-demons. They're humans who have demons in their past, or in their ancestry. And the main character is a girl who is the child of 2 Haymans, which is unusual. And the fact that she's a girl is even more unusual, because usually the girls die before they hit puberty, because the conflicting magic kills them. So she's alive. She doesn't have magic. She doesn't have any magic, but she wants to work. Her father is, I can't remember the name of them, but they have these, like, government buildings where demons, there are upper world and underworld demons, and it's kind of like neutral ground. No fighting, no bloodshed, nothing while you're there. And she really wants to work there, but her lack of magic puts her at a disadvantage. And then all this craziness happens, and it's a really good series. The characters are a little inconsistent, but it's not bad. It's just a really cool world. And if you like urban fantasies, it's not really dystopian at all, even though it is post-apocalyptic, because you only really notice that it's post-apocalyptic when they say things like, when they're surprised that someone has a laptop, because they're almost priceless, and things like that, because nobody's making them anymore. It's not really dystopian, at least her life isn't, because she's kind of upper middle class, or maybe, they don't really say anything about her being rich, but her father is politically important, so maybe it's just because of where she is in the world, like her standing, that it doesn't seem like a dystopian. I'm sure there are people who aren't doing as well as she is, but you don't see a lot of that in the book. But it's really cool. I really like it. I'm really excited to read the next 3 books, and I'll have links to all of these down below so you can check them out. And then, the Thickety series is the one I'm working on right now, and I'm about to kind of put all of these on hold so I can start going back through The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. But I have 3 months to do that, and it won't take me that long to listen to the audiobooks, so I'm taking my time. But the Thickety series is very different from Baker's magic. She's a 12-year-old. It starts with her being 5 years old, and the town is executing her mother as a witch. Like, they grab her in the middle of the night and drag her out. Her mother's tied up with her wrists together, tied up over her head to a tree 15 feet off the ground. They've got a smaller tree ready for her if she doesn't pass the test to see if she's a witch. And I don't know how they killed her. I think they might have stoned her. They never really go into that. But it's dark. Little kids can't read that. They'd have nightmares. But she's discovering magic in that world is very different. It's very dark. It's very addictive, like drugs. And yeah, I'm only partway through it. But she's been shunned by the community essentially since she was little, since her mother was executed. And there's a little bit of that like witch hunt fever, like people wanting it to be that way. People were treating her badly because she might be a witch, but nobody really thought she was a witch. They just wanted, I guess, a punching bag. So it's really sad, and and this is just the beginning of the book, so I'm really not giving much away, but you see this darkness kind of start to rise in her as she starts getting into magic, because now she has power. Now she has a way to protect herself and her brother. I'm really interested to see where it goes. There are more books in the world that she lives in. So there's the world, and then there's their island. They're in the Fold, and it's a cult. And magic is real in the world. And 2,000 years ago, there was a man who defeated the witches, but I'm trying to think. They don't tell you that much about their religion. Just that there was a man who defeated witches, and now they don't stand for witchcraft. You're not allowed to, like, a little boy gets in trouble because he says, I wish I had a candied apple, because the ones at the festival are so good. It's something like that. And he gets in trouble for saying I wish, because that's too close to magic. And it's just kind of a dark community. Like, the leader really wants to discover the little girl is a witch so that he can, like, he enjoys killing witches. And I'm not sure that it really matters to him if they are witches. Like, maybe it's more of he will convince himself that they are witches because he wants to be a part of that great heritage of killing off witches. But it's really interesting. There are more books. I don't know where this one's going yet. But it's definitely dark. I wasn't expecting it to be this dark. I thought there's like on the island that they live on, there's the Thickety is a forest that is overtaking the island, and so they've got clearers, and what happens is people from in the world will sell their children for money to the fold, and those children, and through their entire lives, are set to clearing, and so they have to try and clear away all of the brush that's coming out of the forest, and the forest is slowly gaining ground. And the forest has this evil being at the center of it, and I don't know, it's very dark, very creepy. I'm halfway through the first book, and I'm excited to read the other ones. So I'll let you know how that goes. But I think that's it. I'll go ahead and after this record the description of the Cal that we have going on, there and back again Cal. So remember, if you're interested in taking part, I've got the link down below, so check it out. And anything, as long as you can tell me why it's Middle Earth themed, totally fine. Knitting or crochet, and hopefully we'll see you in the chatter thread, and I'll see you guys next week. Yeah, thanks so much. Happy making.